that is live right now. And last but not least, yours truly, SGA President. I have the privilege to oversee this awesome team this year and extremely proud of the efforts we are doing. We can provide the best MSJC experience possible, even in the times of uncertainty. This position has allowed me to chair the SGA meetings, relay communications across the group, and be the primary liaison between the students, faculty, staff, and administration, all of which will make sure the students' voices are heard. We have our advisors, Maricela, Suzanne, to thank for their efforts in ensuring our success and providing guidance to our leaders. They truly tie SGA together in more ways than one. Again, we thank you. Going back to our homepage, so now you've met our team, and if you want to sit in one of our meetings to see our group dynamic of student government and see what we're up to, here is a look at a week with SGA. Starting on Mondays, our SGA meetings are 3 p.m. and meet via Zoom. Tuesdays, our College Activities Committee meets bi-weekly at 11:30. Our ICC meetings are every Tuesday and Wednesday at 12:30, and the Board of Trustee meeting is the second Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. Now that you know when we meet, but how can you join our SGA meetings? Once you view this slideshow on your own, you will be met with 2 means of instructions. You can either view a 1-minute video walkthrough, like so, or if you click back, then you can click a screenshot instructions for a pictured step-by-step of the website on how to join our meetings and view our agenda and minutes. So if you are unable to join our meeting time, you can submit a public comment instead to our SLDP email address right here. Alrighty. So now hearing all this, why should I join SGA? For one, our SGA officers will have a chance to be compensated through a brand new SGA scholarship based on their position and attendance of SGA related meetings and events, an incentive and a motivator to try your hand in a student government team. If SGA is a new experience that you want to try and grow in your leadership and advocacy, this is the program for you. We invite you all to be part of our leadership family. Okay, now I'm convinced. So now where do I sign up? Here are the open SGA officer positions, and here are 4 easy steps to join SGA. On the left-hand corner are additional instructions on navigating the application. A reminder that SGA elections will be coming up soon, so if you're interested, sign up today. So if you look at the screen, and then for more leadership, student leadership opportunities, if time commitment is an issue, but you want to be involved in a student rep leadership type, participatory governance may be the right opportunity for you to excel both in voicing, learning, and influencing how decisions are made here at MSJC community, and you have a chance to earn $50 per meeting. So where can you reach out to us? Any questions can be directed to our SLDP. Our officers' contact information will be on their slides, and SGA's social media, such as our revamped Instagram and brand new Discord server. A huge shout out to our Discord team, Suzanne, Donovan Cooper, and Hugo Aguilar, for contributing their time to such an amazing effort. We invite you to our Discord launch party, March 24th. For more details, will come to you your way. Donovan will be posting the Discord link in the chat shortly. So with that said, join us today. Connect with SGA and let's build community. Before I forget, if you go back to our homepage and the next slide, will include direct links to every page you saw addressed in this slideshow, from our agenda, minutes, constitution, bylaws, board docs, participatory governance, meeting Zoom link, and application when you do decide to join. And finally, how can we serve you, Eagles? SGA plans to craft a better experience by collaborating, revamping our social media outreach, recognizing our affinity groups during graduation, being an active voice in spaces, fostering leadership development and commitment, and a potential in the works transcript recognition for our SGA officers. There is much more that can be done. Again, reach out to us, start a conversation for change towards equity, diversity, and inclusivity. I thank you again for joining me and hearing about SGA, and I hope this sparks the leader in you. Once again, we at SGA invite you to join and hopefully hear from you soon. If you do have any questions, myself and the SGA officers will be happy to answer in the chat. Now, passing it to our VP of Student Services, Rebecca Teague, for the Executive Board update. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for that introduction, Janelle, and fabulous presentation by your entire team. I know that we received several topics from you all, but first I'd like to introduce our President Superintendent, Dr. Roger Schultz, for him to say a few words to you folks and welcome you back to campus next week. So Roger.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Janelle, for such a great presentation. Whoever put that together, you've got a great future in multimedia marketing. So, and you could be on-air talent as well. So anyway, I want to really reiterate before I get into my comments how important the student voice is. In fact, this week we lived it, and Janelle and Jadalyn gave us some great input at College Council about the participatory governance document update. So we really do like to hear the students' perspective because that's our whole purpose of being as an organization. So having that voice really keeps us grounded and close to you. So it's not just about putting on SGA events, it's about advocacy, both locally and on a state level. So again, I am so proud of the work that the SGA has done through this pandemic. And I guess that kind of transitions us to my thoughts leading into today. It's ironic that it is almost 2 years to the day that we left campus thinking it would only be for a few short weeks. And here we are. Many of you may not have really even had a full semester on campus, but I actually have on my other screen the data for Riverside County, and I am so optimistic moving forward that yes, we are forever changed, and maybe it's more inclusive through a hybrid model of in-person. I very much prefer the in-person, and will welcome you all back for those of you who have on-campus classes starting next week. But I think we've learned some things about technology, that it can be done, and we can hear more voices of people that can't get to can't get to campus for these types of events. So I think, moving forward, a town hall limited to just a lecture hall, I think is going to be forever effective, so that we can include more. But moving forward, like I said, the numbers are looking good. We are forever changed, as I said a moment ago, and it's a world that we are going to have to embrace and look at how we can respond to students' needs. There are things that have emerged during this last 2-year period, from the need to focus on more technology and support to more basic needs, resources, and all that's in the work. Mental health of everybody on campus is in need, and we've hired a director of mental health services as part of our health services program. There's in the works a basic needs coordinator, and the food pantries have gone from a drive-through distribution all the way up to formal centers. And what I loved about your presentation, Janelle, was recognition that the Temecula campus is really coming online. We had that little bit of a fall term where we tested the waters, and then Omicron made us kind of retreat. But I, again, think we're excited about a second half of spring 2022 with in-person graduation, in-person celebrations for affinity groups at the graduation. I saw that Maya Cardenas put out the call for student awards recognition for the end of the term this week. So again, I think getting life back to this new normal, and we'll discover it together and march alongside you and see how we can continue to evolve as an organization in support of your educational goals and dreams. And I know there's a lot more technical questions and things you may have, but that's just a general sense of where we're going. So Rebecca, I'm assuming you're going to function more as an MC of this. Okay, so I'll go back to you then.
Thank you, Roger. So I know that many of you may have some questions regarding what our enrollment strategy is going to be moving forward in the summer and the fall, so that you can start to plan how you'd like to move forward with us at MSJC. And so I'm hoping I can bring forward Dr. Jeremy Brown, who's our VP of Instruction, and hopefully he can shed some light and give you some insight on what our plans and strategies are moving forward so that you have every option and opportunity available to you in either a face-to-face or online modality. So Dr. Brown, would you join us?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rebecca. And it is fantastic to be here with all of you today. As Dr. Schultz said, your voice is so important as we move forward as a college. So definitely glad to be here with you. In general, when we plan the schedule and when we look at enrollment, we really look at what students demonstrate that they want, right? So we look at data on what kinds of modalities students are asking for. Now, the pandemic, everything has been kind of everything has kind of been turned upside down. So while we have watched data as closely as we can, you know, your individual voices are extremely important to that as well. We've also, during the pandemic, out of necessity and out of keeping as much online as possible, there were classes that were shifted online that may not be able to be offered face-to-face as we start to move forward. And so just kind of keep that in mind as we move through the following semesters. But generally, here's what we're looking at for summer and for fall looking forward. We've typically had mostly an online summer at MSJC. So we've offered mostly summer classes. This coming summer will be no different, except probably more online than our past summers had been. So most classes will be online, except for a number of those classes that really can't be offered online. There will be a few classes offered face-to-face, but generally online classes for this summer. For the fall, right now, the department chairs and deans are working on the schedules. And, you know, we've provided them with data on what students have demonstrated that they are looking for. We essentially are trying to build a schedule that has all options available to students. So if you want a face-to-face class at any of our sites, we want those options to be there for you. If you want an online class, we want that option to be there for you. And so that's really what we're building as much as we can. So particularly with the more popular or needed classes, you should see options for all sites, most times of day, as well as online. For those that aren't needed by as many students, we have to be a little bit more careful in how we plan those, because we can't offer the number of sections to cover every possible option, but we'll be offering as many options as we possibly can. So that really is the goal. I think we are expecting that we'll still have a large number of students that want online courses, and so we're prepared to do that. But we're also prepared to start gradually coming back to campus. So even as students are enrolling over the summer, if we see a lot of students that want one modality or another, we're going to be flexible to shift sections or add sections here or there to meet that need. So I hope that answers it. I know it's complex. Schedule building is kind of a complex science, but essentially all options available, and let us know what you're looking for.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And if any of you have any questions that you might have for Dr. Brown or Dr. Schultz, you're more than welcome to stick them in the chat, and our team will be able to respond to those. Or if you just want to say, hey, here's some food for thought, here are some considerations. You know, as Roger mentioned, we are all about the student voice, and we want to hear how you'd like us to move forward and take that into consideration as we start to make those plans moving forward. So please, we definitely want to engage you in this conversation. It's not a one-sided conversation by any means. So definitely, absolutely chime in if you want to in the chat. I would like to introduce Joyce Johnson, who is our provost. She will be sharing some really exciting information that we have some new programs to offer and some resources available to our students this semester. So Joyce, if you could join us.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can you all hear me? Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. And as Rebecca has alluded to, and even Dr. Schultz in his presentation, one of the near and dear to my heart that's coming on board is our Basic Needs Center. And so in collaboration with Rebecca and her team, under the administrative direction of Lisa Campbell, who also runs our CalWorks program, as well as our food pantry, she's taking on the Basic Needs Center. And so she has really, really just hit the ground running. And we're very excited that we've been supported by the district, not only with the need and the desire, but for a basic needs coordinator. And so that position is currently in recruitment. And as soon as we can get the coordinator on ground, Lisa will be forming what's known as a task force. And that task force will definitely comprise of our students. So again, as we've all heard here, and we all believe here, it's our student voice. That is really why we as faculty, staff, and administration is here. And so having our task force formed with our students, with our external resources and our internal partners to really look at driving what is truly needed. I know you all should have received a survey that came out. I know that it went out to all of our students, and we had over 1,700 students reply to that survey, just trying to identify what were those top priorities when it really comes to those basic needs. And so we will be taking that data from that survey and really making that a priority and addressing what was identified as those top needs. There will be many more opportunities for students to have input and a voice as we develop and really flesh out what these basic student needs centers look like. I know housing is always a priority. Some of the other priorities came out of there is technology, and the district has been very responsive to our students' needs when it comes to technology. But there are even things like as utilities or car repair. So there were several things that really were eye-opening to us as administration in seeing what we consider basic needs, but really are essential needs for our students as they're on their educational journey. So do look forward to our student leadership here for a call out for students to participate and be part of our task force so they can bring in to us that voice that you all represent. And then the other thing, just in our career education department, and Jaylen might have heard this. I want to publicly thank her for partaking and being a member of our careers advisory um, um, committee. She attended a meeting and had some great insight. Again, bringing in that student's lens. So thank you for that. But some of the programs that she may have heard and others that are coming is we are bringing on paramedic program. We're also bringing forth a gerontology and aging studies program. We have revamped and revised our GIS and engineering programs. So those are coming on board with industry input because of the big job demand that's there. So we have those programs coming forward. We launched this past fall our aviation science program, and that remains to be a very healthy program. And so we're very excited about that as well as our culinary arts program, which is a signature program here for our Temecula Valley campus. So as what we do in career education is being responsive to our workforce and economic needs. And so as we're hearing from our industry partners and supporting that with our data to know about what programs and where the jobs are. So we will continue to have our ear out there with our industry folks as well as what's is needed for our career education program and division. So I look forward and open for any questions or comments. If it's anything that I missed or you heard something, you need some clarification or you want to know, then please do feel free to reach out and ask me. Thanks, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca, I don't think I saw a response, but a student or maybe Maya asked, how do students get involved in that basic needs committee that is going to be formed? And I think as part of participatory governance, you work through SGA and they would end up identifying them. So once we get that up and running, we'll let SGA know and we'll put out the call for that. So I don't think you're running quite yet, right, Joyce?
Not quite yet. But yeah, that will be our process. We'll reach out to our student leadership and solicit for those the students to partake in it.
Thank you, Joyce, for that awesome update on all of those services and programs available to the students. So I'm going to take over a little bit here, and if we need to jump in and do tag team, we will do that as an executive team. But first, I just want to welcome you back officially. I know it's welcome back. You have been working so hard in your courses over the last 8 weeks as we transition solely to online. So just amazing props out to you folks for working through this with us, paying attention to your studies, being diligent, being engaged in your classes. But we are so very excited to welcome you back next week for those that will be joining us face to face. And for those of you that are staying online, we are so glad you're staying with us and that you have 8 weeks left in the semester. And I promise you, it will fly by. If the first 3 months of this year have been any indication of just how quickly things are going, we will be at graduation before we know it, and you all will be transferring and moving on to other institutions. So we're just so happy to have you back. But just to give you some protocols on just what to expect this next week as you're coming back on campus. So obviously we're bringing folks back on Monday, March 14th for those courses that were face-to-face. Obviously, you've more than likely received communication from your faculty member on just how that's all going to roll out. You have your information in self-service on the classroom. So definitely check that out. Maybe arrive a few minutes early if you've never been on campus on any of our 3 sites to be able to really figure out where you're going and all of the buildings. We will have some folks milling around from the institution. I know in student services, we're having folks wear MSJC garb, so MSJC shirts. So if you see anybody with an MSJC shirt, absolutely walk up to them. They may give you a hug or fist bump you or elbow tap you because we just are so happy that you're back. But definitely, if you see folks with those t-shirts, reach out to them. Our welcome centers will be wide open, ready to serve you. If you have any questions, you can walk in. There are computers available if you need to access your self-service and have questions about your classes or whatnot, or enrollment or financial aid. Those folks can get you in touch with the correct department. So our welcome centers are going to be within the lobby of the 1150 building at the San Jacinto campus. So right when you come into that main parking lot, the building's right there, the glass doors will open and there will be folks there to assist you. Menifee, we have a welcome center in the 250 building. And then there will also be a presence within the enrollment, registration, financial aid counseling space, which is our 100 building at the Menifee campus. In addition, we have our ground floor at the Temecula site, Temecula Valley campus, which will also feature some folks available as you're walking in. Just a nice smile, a nice wave if you're just heading up to your courses, but they will be there to assist you also. So please know you are not alone as you're coming back on campus. Please stop anyone that might look like an MSJC staff member. We want to be there to help you transition back for this spring term. So I want to get into some of the protocols on just COVID, because I know that was some of the outline of the information that the SGA provided us that they wanted us to share with you. And so we are still in compliance with our board policy, which essentially states that anyone that's on campus taking in-person classes must be vaccinated. So you wouldn't have been able to register with your class unless you were vaccinated. So for the vast majority of you, you're good to go. We also had many students that opted to go through the exemption process, and you did receive by email verification and approval of your exemption. For those students that received an approved exemption, you are required to do weekly testing starting next week. And how this will work for you is essentially you go on site to the MSJC campuses, San Jacinto, Menifee, or Temecula, and we have a separate space for folks to get tested. We're working with a company that we've been working with for the last, maybe 4 or 5 months now. They're called Virus Geeks. They're at the 200 building at the San Jacinto campus, 814 at the Menifee campus, and first floor of the Temecula campus. And these folks will be there to greet you. If you are exempted, you go there, you do your weekly testing. It's a very light swab in your nose. They will email you the results, but on your Cleared For, so everyone has their Cleared For app for their daily check-in. If you are vaccinated, exempted, whatever, you're coming on campus, you need to fill out that Cleared For app so that you can be cleared for symptoms to come on campus. So it's just a few questions, you click it in, you're good to go, and you'll be cleared on campus. For those that are exempted, once you take that test at the Virus Geeks centers, we ask that you go into your Cleared For app and note that you were tested, the date that you were tested, and then you will have access to your classes. You will have to test on a 7-day rotation. So if you start your week and your classes start on Tuesday, you don't need to show up before class. You can actually just come that day, make sure you get tested, note that you were tested, and you're good to go. And faculty or staff may stop you and ask, hey, are you cleared to be on campus? If you're entering any type of indoor space, you just pull up your phone and it'll show that on your Cleared For app that you've been cleared to be in class and whatnot. Some instructors and some staff members may not ask you, but we're just giving you a heads up that may be something that you encounter next week as we are transitioning back. If for whatever reason you're running into hiccups with the Cleared For app or the testing protocols, we ask that you, email the COVID-19 at MSJC email, it's COVID-19 at msjc.edu. And Selena will throw that in the chat for us. So then we can communicate with you directly about any challenges you might be having with accessing campus. You can also go to the welcome centers and we will expedite and accelerate your assistance if we need to bring somebody in person to do some magic with the Cleared For app, or also with any of the notation of your test. Virus Geeks and Cleared For. Oh, I'm sorry, we're just going to mute there. Virus Geeks, who is our testing center, and Cleared For are not connected. So you actually have to do the manual work yourself by saying, I was tested on X date, tap that into your phone. And then when you receive your results from Cleared For via email, you will then essentially download that information and then upload it into Cleared For, because those two systems don't talk to each other. You have to do that work for them if you are an exempted student. So that's really what we're looking at for just COVID testing protocols as we're moving forward. Those students that are vaccinated are not required to be tested. It's only for that exempted population. Masks. So you all know that we came back to a very different world. When you start March 14th, there will be a lot of different things in place. We are not requiring masks indoors per the policy with CDC unless you are unvaccinated. So that would be if you are exempted and you don't have a vaccine, we kindly ask that you wear a mask. If not, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear one. If you're just a person that's like, you know what, I just want to wear my mask. I just like to stay warm in the winter. I want to stay safe from other folks and just other, viruses that might be going around. You're more than welcome to wear your mask. We are not prohibiting that at all. Masks will still be available at specific sites along campus, especially in the Welcome Center. If you just want to grab a mask before you get into class, head into those Welcome Centers. We'll have some extra masks for you. But you aren't required to wear them in the classroom setting. So that's on the mask policy. That may change throughout the semester and we will get more updated information to you. Again, we're receiving this from CDC and all of our different public health agencies. And so there may be changes and we'll just be sure to communicate those out to you, because this is a constantly evolving virus and pandemic. And as you've seen, we've gone through a lot of changes and pivoting, but we've been up for it. So that is the mask information. I know so many of you have questions about, well, what does this look like moving forward for the summer term and fall term relative to vaccine mandates or mask mandates or even the booster? And all that I can share with you is that for our summer program, as Dr. Brown alluded to, we're going to be primarily online. So you can register for your courses freely without having any type of vaccination requirement. You'll be able to get into those classes, no problem, easy peasy. We are still evaluating with our Board of Trustees the policy for our vaccination program. As you can imagine, data has shifted significantly over the most recent weeks, and we expect all of the trends to show that the pandemic is heading out into an endemic, something that we're just going to be dealing with all the time. And so we are hoping to have those conversations with the Board of Trustees over the next several weeks and months, so that prior to the registration process for the fall, that we will have all this squared away and communicated out to you folks so that you can make the decisions that are best for you. But we don't have any definitive answers right now on whether we'll have a booster requirement or a vaccine mandate at all. So that is more to come on that. I wish I could provide you some additional information, but it's still too early, as we've not started those conversations with our Board of Trustees. And they are, in fact, the body, the organization at our district that sets policy. And we are just the folks that implement that policy. So more to come on that.
Rebecca, if I could jump in, I'm going to post in the chat the Riverside County Public Health link, and that really gives a lot of current information. And I referenced it earlier. It's something we monitor on a routine basis, and it really, if you look at longitudinally where we were last June when things were really opening up before there was an initial surge, we're back down to those levels. And to answer the one person's question about not feeling safe, you may not be aware if you haven't been back on campus. In addition to regular cleaning and things like that, we have invested well over $1 million in each classroom for an air purification. And I'm not talking like a filter in the air system that we also upgraded, but it's an actual device that scrubs the air. So there has been a tremendous investment to make every learning environment safe. And I think the numbers are reflecting that. So I think if you can take a look at that and monitor that, you can kind of get a sense of where we are as a region. And the other thing I'd like to just point out, because each region has been different, there has not been any guidelines to uniformly apply across community colleges. So if you're saying, well, I'm hearing in Riverside, or I'm hearing in Victorville, or I'm hearing in LA or San Diego, each area is just so different. And so there has not been a uniform directive from California Public Health to colleges and universities so that we could respond to the basic data that is relevant for us. But hopefully that'll give you a good idea of where the trend is. And that's why earlier I'm really feeling optimistic, and I feel safer. I feel good about the direction of this, but we have to be vigilant and make sure we're continuing to mitigate and do those things to keep everybody safe.
Hey, Roger. It's Maya, Student Life. I put in the chat that we're going to be having Tuesday, April 26th, Dr. Jen Chavinsky come from Riverside Public Health, Deputy Public Health Officer, and she's going to be doing exactly that. She's going to be giving a status update on COVID and also long COVID. She used to work at the CDC, so she was actually responsible for the initial COVID response at the federal level. So super exciting. More to come on that.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
I'm going to want to go to that. Thank you.
Thank you. So continuing on, just what you can expect when you're in the classroom, we aren't practicing any social distancing policies in regards to your time within your classroom. I think what you may find is that there may be automatic social distancing because some classes aren't as filled to capacity as they may have been pre-pandemic. And so you may be in a classroom that might not have a lot of folks in it, so you can kind of distance yourselves as you see appropriate and fit. But there are going to be some classes that are face-to-face that are highly impacted, right? That folks, there's tons of folks in that class. And so we aren't focused on those social distancing practices that we had very early on in the pandemic. And that would be the case also for any of our library tutoring spaces. We're not practicing that distance. Of course, you can do your own distancing. If you see somebody at a computer station and you want to skip a station and work at the next one, that's absolutely allowable. So we would just say use your discretion on what makes you feel comfortable in moving forward in any type of environment, educational environment that you're in with us. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the other questions. Social distancing, we talked about. Vaccine requirement, the booster, unknown yet. But when you're returning to your class, it's It's business as usual in a lot of ways, right? You are going to show up for your class, you're going to walk into the classroom, you're going to receive your instruction. Nothing really shifts in that way whatsoever. So just, bring a snack, bring a drink. We do have our cafeterias available, but, definitely get comfortable with us. We are just very happy that we have warm bodies back on campus and we're able to serve you. But I believe I've covered all of the main topics of concern that were brought to us by your SGA leadership. And I know so many of you have questions that have been hopefully answered in the chat. I do see one from, it was childcare addressed. So Joyce, would you mind if I throw it back to you regarding our child education development centers?
Not at all.
No.
Our child care center is open. We are still at what the state calls COVID capacity. So that's about 50 to 55% of our usual enrollment, but we are open, and is our intent to also carry our services through the summer and to the fall as well. We will maintain that capacity percent until the state has otherwise lifted it, but we are back, we're open, and we're gladly receiving and serving our students as well as the children as well. So yes, I don't know if I answered the question because I missed it in the chat, but if we're operational, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Okay, so it looks like Janelle Nelson, you have your hand up if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, I just had a question as far as not safety wise, but academically. I am graduating this semester and transferring to a university this fall, and I'm super excited. But I know this is not unique to me. I have not been able to have the hands-on experience in my laboratory classes like I had hoped to be prepared for my upper division courses. What is said, or what kind of communication is there between the community college level and the university level as far as academic standards are concerned? Because I know, like I said, I'm not unique. This is, a lot of community colleges were online for, the last few years. So I'm just wondering, as far as what is going to be expected of me to know or have known when I haven't been able to be in a lab.
So first, Janelle, I just want to say congratulations that you are graduating and transferring. I know you're probably receiving those letters from those institutions. So I wish you all the best and good luck. And I hope that you drop a line to us and let us know where you're going, because we're so excited to have you as a graduate. But I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Jeremy Brown that might be able to assist with that specific question.
Yeah, Janelle, that's a great question. And actually, in the beginning of the pandemic, that was something that we were concerned about, with what classes we could shift online and that sort of thing. Essentially, the four-year schools are not they're not allowed to make decisions on what they accept based on modality. So if you took your lab class online, it is absolutely valid. It will get you to the next step. Students may feel that they missed out on some of the hands-on, but that will not keep you out of the classes in your next step at all. I do anticipate, with so many students coming from colleges and having only online experiences, I would imagine any of those four-year schools will probably have additional brush ups and need to explicitly explain lab practices and kind of a refresher on lab safety and those kinds of things. But there is no distinction between your online lab and your face-to-face class.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I do know we had a little bit of a rough go in our organic chemistry course, and our professor was stating that at the college or university level, a lot of our work is graded on our actual purity of our samples and some of these things, but without that practice or experience, how can they expect that? If they know a lot of students are coming in without that kind of background. So that was kind of where I got a little nervous, like, here, I'm going to walk onto this university. I want to be prepared. I've done a lot of work to get here, and I don't want to look, like a fool, to say it simply. But anyway, so thank you for answering that.
Right. Well, and I can tell you, if you get to your next step and you run into situations where, if it's an individual faculty member or department that says, we don't want to accept this because online, so on and so forth. Our chancellor's office is already committed to fight in situations where those come up. Legally, they are not allowed to, they use the word discriminate based on modality. So, and I've asked that question multiple times of the chancellor's office, and you're sure about this, right? We've double checked multiple times, and it should not be an issue. I think there may be individuals at universities that voice those concerns, but they cannot discriminate based on modality.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, and thank you for bringing that concern forward, Janelle. All right, so we have Lily who's raised her hand, so if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm SGA's Vice President for the MVC campus, and I wanted to bring up a kind of like situation in regards to representation at MSJC. When referring back to our equity pledge and the appreciative and affirming mindset, MSJC's equity pledge believes that students are resilient and bring valuable experiences and insights from their homes, communities, and cultural backgrounds. And our institution prioritizes our institution's priorities are related to ensuring student success, access, achievement for our historical, underrepresented, and marginalized student communities. And we believe it is important to understand our own racial and ethnic identities. And the reason I bring this up is because I feel like a great way to amplify this is through representation of graduation regalia. SGA has been working on this and we've been bringing it up. So I just wanted to kind of showcase this with everybody to get input and to kind of see what the next steps would be moving forward with it. I wanted to kind of present this with the affinity groups. I know that we do have affinity groups on campus like Puente, Umoja, LGBTQ plus, and many more others, but I feel like these affinity groups are kind of what you would say exclusive. The reason that I say that is because some of them, like Puente Club, have like an academic presence to it where you need to finish certain classes or take them in a certain order to be considered to be a part of that club, right? And it kind of creates a barrier for other people that want to identify with these groups, right? Like it could kind of be disheartening for somebody that says, oh, I haven't finished Puente Club, and I feel like I'm not really being identified as Latino or Chicano, right, or Chicana. And also with other clubs that we have on campus, like Umoja, right, that you need to attend certain meetings or certain events to be considered a member. And then you have other clubs where they only take certain members at a certain time of the year or a certain time in the semester. So it could be a barrier that as well. I believe that if we kind of open affinity groups in a sense for graduation, where we can have people be able to identify themselves to what affinity group they identify as, could be a part of like a representation that could be open to everybody. The reason that I think it would be so good is because I've seen it at a Cal State level. And I think that if Cal States are able to do this, that it literally takes more staff time. And I know that there's more protocols that we need to go. I feel like we can kind of translate that to the community college level. I do have Janelle that is going to kind of speak a little bit more on this topic. So I'll redirect that to her.
Thank you, Lily. Yes, I also concur about having the right amount of representation, especially in graduation, where it's a very special moment, specifically for myself as well, who is an Asian American, and I don't really see a lot of presence in that group, especially on campus. And I know we're a small group, but it still is deserving of representation, right? So, more students like myself need the support, recognition, and representation on campus. And really, having an affinity group to relate to, especially for this special moment, would just be amazing. Also for like our Native American representation. In our SGA meetings, we always acknowledge the land that we stand on. And I think, not stopping there, but also representing the people behind that land, right? And so I think that's also another way to recognize our Native Americans. And also adding on, SGA would happily be able to budget this, since that we already have 400 cap and gowns already funded for our students for fall and spring, and that costed around like $30,000. And when I did some of the calculations for the stoles that could potentially be given to our affinity groups, it would be around 10,000 for 250. And if we can, triple that, that would be amazing. And so we would kind of have it as a first come, first serve, like the cap and gowns. And yeah, really just like having SGA support our affinity groups and also having the executive board and MSJC as well. And I'm gonna segue this to Caitlin as well. She's gonna elaborate more.
Oh, hey everyone, I'm Caitlin. I'm the Commissioner of College Activities. And for my part, I really want to emphasize why we want to exemplify representation at graduation. So graduation is the largest event that we hold, that is held by our campus, and is the perfect place to showcase diversity on a large scale. Even in our small SGA team, we have people of different races, genders, sexuality, and this is really reflective of our student population. We should be proud of the diversity of our graduating students. And also, graduation is a moment of pride for our students. And I think it'd be great if we could give them specialized graduation regalia to take with them and really showcase their affinity groups in this moment of pride. Overall, graduation is just the perfect place to celebrate diversity within our campus. Thank you.
Thank you all for that statement. I know that Maya has brought that to our attention, and I'm hoping to set up some time to chat with you all. As you know, graduation is literally less than 8 weeks away, and so we are trying to plan and order and do all the things. But I really appreciate the fact that you as SGA and as student leaders are trying to move towards a place where we are exemplifying our equity pledge in every type of activity that we do. And just to give you a little bit of background, we are significantly adjusting our graduation ceremony to reflect those affinity groups in different ways, right? So what we are looking at, so we have the graduation drive-through, and then we also have the formal ceremony at Pechanga. Our program will be featuring a lot of elements of diversity, talking about different colors and how they connect to those affinity groups. We are also looking at possibly, I know, Janelle, you mentioned stoles. We're looking at cords. We're looking at other options that we might have available for this semester so that you can have that recognition. I know that Selena and I have been chatting about that at the drive-through in particular, there's going to be a screen that can push up your name, and there might be a way that we can highlight your specific affinity if that's in fact something that you're sharing with us. Or your identity that we can list there. So there's a lot of different strategies. Graduation will also include our Native American land acknowledgement. So that will be featured, Janelle. So you are right on, but we're ahead of that. So we're good. We're also going to be featuring our African American national anthem. So that will also be featured at graduation, as well as our national anthem and all of the pomp and circumstance that comes with graduation. So we are trying to incorporate a lot of elements of our diversity and our I'm not even going to say our just celebration of diversity in this giant celebration that we're having, but more to come. Obviously, time is of the essence right now. So I know that Selena's reaching out to some of our SGA leaders to talk on a few subjects specific to graduation, and then also with some other issues that we've been discussing. But just a quick plug, and Selena will throw it in the chat for you all. Graduation is scheduled. We have three graduation ceremonies, major graduation ceremonies. One is the drive-through, that is Tuesday, May 24th at the Menifee campus, and that is for graduation and or transfer. So if you are transferring to another institution, a four-year institution, but you're not graduating, we want you at the drive-through. If you are graduating from MSJC, we want you there. If you're graduating and transferring, we want you there. So definitely look up that link that Selena placed in the chat, and there will be more updates to come on that drive-through graduation. You can do the drive-through and the formal graduation at Pechanga, which will be scheduled on Thursday, May 26th. We're having two ceremonies, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. and you and your families can show up and we can definitely celebrate those accomplishments. One other quick thing I want to mention is that I did hear, Lily, regarding you are having that sense that some of those groups are exclusive because of the requirements that are in place. And I will tell you that there are other affinity groups being developed and some that are already out there that probably just there's not that clear awareness of them existing and how students can get plugged into those groups. I know that we have an Asian American and Pacific Islander task force. We have DocuDreamers, we have LGBTQ+, we have so many different groups. You mentioned Puente, we also have a Latinx and Indigenous Alliance task force that is separate from the Puente academic program. We have Amen and Emoja, and we also have just a whole host of others. But I think our institution, based off this great feedback, absolutely needs to do a better job of communicating all of those different teams out to you folks so that you feel connected to those communities. So that will definitely be on our list of things to be working on so that you folks definitely find that connection here at MSJC. So we have about a minute remaining, and Julian, you've been so patient, so I really appreciate you keeping that hand up. So Julian, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself.
Hey, okay, so I'm going to try and put this in a nutshell. So I am pre-med. So as a future physician, for me, it's important that the ladies on campus actually have access to feminine products. Okay, it isn't available in the bathrooms, and I would like to put it forward that that actually happens. Now, I know that there is it is in the process of it being available in public spaces at certain points over the colleges or the campuses, but I'm thinking, first of all, it's very I mean, it's a personal thing. You don't want everyone seeing that you're going to go grab a product because it's that time of month, but also with the trans students on campus, you don't want to be exposing yourself to that kind of danger and ridicule from other students. I mean, the political situation at the moment is already quite intense with trans and non-binary students. So I wanted to find out if it is possible to maybe have feminine products available in the bathrooms, on every bathroom, or more specifically in each stall, so that it is private and safe for females and non-binary and trans students to be able to have access to those products. Please.
Julian, thank you so much for that, and how appropriate for Women's History Month and just celebrating International Women's Day yesterday. So it's such an appropriate suggestion. And I will give you just a heads up of what we are doing currently. So it has been legislated by law that we are to make these products available to our students. And at this point, we're phasing that in providing dispensers within the restrooms. You had talked about individual stalls. That may be a longer term phased approach because we are only provided so many materials and we needed to budget accordingly. So what I will tell you is it is on the checklist of things that we are currently doing right now. Our facilities and maintenance operation teams have already ordered the dispensers. We're getting ready to deploy those once they arrive. And so they will be available in those restrooms, and we will absolutely have some additional conversation about just being discreet so that folks can access those supplies in a manner that doesn't make them uncomfortable. Selena also placed in the chat, we are doing a huge menstrual product drive at the institution so that students would also have those available in our food pantry and other locations, because we're afraid that if we just put them in the restrooms, folks don't live in restrooms, right? And they go off campus and they live in their homes, and we want them to have the supplies that they need throughout the month, not just when they're here on campus. And so we're doing this very large, extensive, comprehensive drive to donate products to our food pantry and other locations so that students can grab what they need and take off and have it available at their home or their residence or wherever they're living. So it's really, really important that we do that, not just for when folks are here on campus. I will look into that. Ashley, I see your question about if they will be available in all restrooms. That is something that we are exploring, given Julian's comments regarding trans students and non-binary, if they are in other restrooms, if they are in our unisex restrooms, our men's restroom, our women's restroom, that may be something that we're considering for those spaces, so that and I think that's why we're calling them the menstrual product drives versus a feminine product drive, so that folks don't have that connection to a specific gender for that purpose. So hopefully that answered your question, Julian, and reassured you we are on top of that.
Thank you so much. It means so much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, folks, we are 4 minutes beyond the time. I'm hoping that you found this to be extremely helpful and useful as you're coming back to campus next week. Again, please do a friendly wave, a hello for us that are in MSJC garb next week. We are just going to be so excited to see you. We may jump up and down a little bit because we've not seen people for a very long time. So don't mind us. But again, a huge shout out to the SGA team for pulling this town hall together. It was so well organized and such a great turnout. So just thank you all so much. Have a fantastic rest of your week.